Are you? Last year, the Lions only lost 2 games. But in the offseason, they lost 2 coordinators. This guy. Those departures have drained some enthusiasm from the Lions' predictions and motivated Dan Campbell. Take a listen.
It's not hard for me to find things that can drive you. I mean, I feel like that's the world we're in. That's how I was as a player. That's how I am as a coach. Like I'll pull anything negative because it motivates me. So I would be lying if I said no, that doesn't get me going a little bit. That's the next challenge. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Okay, Coach Mangini is here. Brew, do you expect Detroit to take a step back without coordinators Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn?
I don't think they'll win 15 games. I don't think they'll go 15-2. Okay. But I don't consider dropping to, say, 12-5 a step back as long as you're still a Super Bowl contender. I still expect them to be a Super Bowl contender. So I don't think that's a step back. You win 12 games and the Super Bowl, or get there at least, that's a great year. So, look, everybody's talking about the coordinators, but Campbell is the guy. And I know, like, Glenn and Ben Johnson were there before him, but not as coordinators, so it wouldn't be fair to say they didn't do anything as coordinators. But he's the guy that changed the culture. The anger that he's probably feeling over everybody saying they're taking a step back because of the coordinators, I'm sure he's passed that on to his team and that they feel that challenge as well. And when you couple that mentality with getting the defensive guys back, not just Hutchinson, but Anzalone, they got DJ Reed from the Jets, who's pretty good.
Whole defense was hurt at the end of the year.
So I think they are still going to be a Super Bowl contender, won't win as many games, but that's not a step back.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it takes a lot to make Dan Campbell angry. So this falls in line with that. I do feel like it's a pretty significant challenge to overcome losing both coordinators. Now, we saw it last year with Philly where it worked out really well, but the year before with Philly, it didn't work out so well. So we've seen it kind of go both ways. And the issue is, especially in this situation, one coordinator got promoted, so that's a positive thing. The defensive coordinator got promoted from a linebacker coach, so at least there's continuity in the scheme. He understands who the players are. They have shared experiences. You can relate on a different level. Now, he has a new responsibility. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that pressure and responsibility of calling the plays, game planning, that sort of thing. But there is continuity. Now with Johnny Morton, he has been a coordinator before at the Jets, but he hasn't been part of that system. So the question is, do you use his system? Do you keep the system you've had? Do you try to combine systems? And typically they'll probably keep the system they had. So now Johnny has to catch up with that terminology and work in that world and then incorporate some of the things he believes in. So there's a learning curve, and it's not as easy as just saying, hey, the head coach is still there, we're going to plug these 2 guys in. It's new human beings making new decisions, new relationships, all that stuff's got to work together.
Go ahead, Kato.
Well, I want to talk Patriots.
Well, I don't want to talk about the Patriots. Can I talk about the Lions?
I am also talking about the Lions.
Okay, go ahead, buddy.
Week 2, Lions, Bears. Ben Johnson, who's a genius, going back to play his old team. A lot of people, I don't know if you knew this, Coach, your nickname, Mangenius.
Mangenius, yeah.
Like Ben
Said
Johnson.
by Tony Soprano in one of those.
And you had to play Belichick, your old coach, when you were the coordinator. What specific advantages or disadvantages? I'm just looking forward to week 2, Ben Johnson versus Dan Campbell. Who has the advantage there? Was there stuff you're like, oh, I know Belichick's going to do this, or like, I know this, so I'm going to know this?
Yeah, it's definitely the first time we played him up there, we sacked Tom Brady 6 times. They changed from grass to turf after we beat him there. I mean, that did happen. You can look it up. So there was a real advantage there. And what it was is you understood Tom had seen our signals so many times defensively from being in practice. So there's an element of give him a signal he's seen and play something totally different. So make sure he sees the check, he acknowledges the check, and then play something different. And then with the way their protection was set, they point out the mic, everything gets set after they point out the mic. So we were moving around so much that the mic had to change multiple times. And so the first time we did it, it was really effective, and it was all based on what has always given our offense problems, and then also what are they familiar with. Let's give them plenty of that, but make sure it's not what they're
So
expecting.
is Ben Johnson going to do that to Dan Campbell?
I mean, he should. If they keep the same defensive scheme, he should know what the problems are with that scheme and make sure that every single problem play that they've had, that he's heard about in a team meeting, they give it to him.
So your focus more granular than I am on this. I think holistically, big picture, I'd be very worried if I were Detroit. And first of all, and I kind of came up with a take during the segment.
Wow, these are dangerous.
This is
When I heard Brew talking about the culture. So tell me, what did he say?
Untested take. I mean, that's big. He's having
I
once every
think
6 months.
culture setting is incredibly valuable for a team that Dan Campbell took over. Does that, the sad sack can't get out of its own way. We are going to have building blocks, set a foundation, learn how to win.
Yep.
I think once you're a contender, the culture has set in to a degree, and then schematics matter a lot. And I think that for a team that is trying to win a championship, losing your tacticians, which Glenn and Ben Johnson were, and now just having that, I think Dan Campbell guarantees the Lions a floor. You know what I mean? Because of the culture and because of how much the players love him and believe in him. But I think those next steps, you need a lot of factors, and a lot of those factors walked out the door. The other thing that happened is we don't know how Jared Goff's going to react to how his season ended. With 3 interceptions, a fumble out of his little hands, and getting rocked as the 1 seed. When we talked about the 1 seeds that lose their first home playoff game, we showed you the list a few days ago. It's like young quarterback, shocking, and it had real long-term effect, not long-term, but the next year effects for those teams. Also, the foundation of that team, the way Dan Campbell laid a foundation was, I'm going to build the toughest, meanest offensive line in football. That's now totally different with a new interior offensive line, and they have a brutal schedule. So for all those reasons, like I of course agree with Brew that if you're 12-5, win the division, that's not a tangible step back. But I think Vegas' over-under on them is a sneaky signal that they might, when Dan Campbell said 2 years ago, we don't know if we'll ever be back here, he might have been more prescient than we thought. And so I think that, and I know you think that Ben Johnson's not going to work as a head coach, but
I'm not willing to say he's not going to work as head coach. I'm saying he's just not the Picasso.
Okay, right. But you do think he was a very good offensive coordinator. Of course. Like, they are likely to be worse at both coordinator spots, at least in the short term, than they were last year. Tougher schedule. I'm curious where Goff's head's at. All of that. I do
think they could miss the playoffs?
Oh, I'm not saying I'm picking on predictions week in 2 weeks. But could they miss the playoffs? 100%. Absolutely, they could miss.
Coach, you could see them miss.
They could finish 3rd in their own division. Yes.
The division obviously is monstrous.
And to your point about culture, again, if you can promote someone from within who knows the culture, there's value in that. And I thought that's one of the things that Belichick always did really well, is he developed coaches, and as someone left, someone else jumped in. So the culture stayed, for the most part, consistent over that 20-year period. And with Johnny Morton, there's a relationship there, but he hasn't been part of that. So he's got a relationship with the head coach, and he doesn't have a relationship with the quarterback. So how's all that going to play out?
Okay. They open up against, who do they open up against?
No way to
The Packers. Yeah, sorry. Then they host. Then they go to Baltimore week 3.
Yeah, and week 2, the Bears.
The Bears.
Packers, Bears, Baltimore.
The Bears are a must-win.
No, it's a tough
For who?
For Dan
Double.
Campbell. No, it's not a must-win for the Bears. Don't have
It's
any.
not a must-win for
The Bears
Ben
don't have
Johnson?
any must-wins
Okay,
the whole year.
Wow.
Matthew Stafford missed another day of practice yesterday. No update today. He's dealing with an aggravated disc. Last weekend, he threw around 60 passes. That seems like an anomaly because Monday he was in that futuristic wellness chamber.
Nice.
And he missed practice. Didn't throw any passes yesterday. I, on the morning meeting, called this the most undercovered. No, it's being covered fine. Yeah. Under-discussed story in all of sports.
If only you had a sports talk show.
I'm trying to put it in. You're like, hey, that Super Bowl contender whose quarterback appeared once and has an aggravated disc.
Yeah.
Can we do more Trey Hendrickson? I'm like, no, I want to talk Stafford. Is it time to worry for anybody
Listen,
except me?
I'm terrified. Brew shouldn't be worried at all. Because facts are the facts. Listen, Brew, and I know we argue sometimes. No one's going to be able to argue about this. If we know anything about Chris Broussard, it's that he loves Jimmy Garoppolo. That Jimmy G wins. That Jimmy G wins.
does win.
And that Jimmy G, quote, his body simply betrayed him, end quote. Well, luckily, he's healthy now. So now the Rams, we know that Brew thinks Stafford wasn't that good last year to begin with. How many times have I heard that?
His moments.
And that Jimmy G is a winner. And we also know that Brew thinks the Rams' weapons, they have their own Avengers. So they have Jimmy G, sharp head coach, their own Avengers. I think they're cooked without Stafford. I assume Brew thinks it's tomato, Stafford to Jimmy G.
I'm going to pull a Nick Wright card. I'll have my own opinion, thank you. He just said like 4 things. Brew thinks this, Brew thinks that. I'm not even thinking about Jimmy Garoppolo. You're the one that's in love with the Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo years ago was a good quarterback in San Francisco. Yeah. But I've moved on, all right? And you should move on if you're thinking the Rams are going to do something this year. Look, they might make the playoffs, but this is major reason for concern, all right? And it's not – Sean McVay thought he was going to be ready like right around the start of training camp. And he is not even throwing footballs 3 weeks away from the start of the season. I get it. He's everybody's All-American, all right? But he's 37. He's been banged up his entire, he got banged up in Detroit. And the last 3 years, he's really been banged up. Hasn't played to the standard he had set before. I think he's going to play, but I just think he's not going to be, he'll have his moments. He is a very good quarterback. But he is not going to be the Matthew Stafford who led them to that Super Bowl a few years ago.
Well, he threw the ball 60 times a few days ago, and they thought that he'd be able to come back on the Monday, and he wasn't. But they are almost a month away, a little bit under a month away before the first game. So you do have time to rest someone, in this situation. I would imagine if they felt really concerned, they would probably continue to address the quarterback situation.
Because you can't go into a year with Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's what that's what I'm looking at. Like, when are we going to see a trade?
But because
you don't think they think they can play Jimmy?
I do think they can play Jimmy. The fear for fans of the in this situation is a fragile quarterback behind a hurt quarterback. Like, to me, that's problematic. Yeah. And then the next quarterback hasn't Stetson Bennett. He hasn't played. He's 27 years old. So you got an older quarterback who's inexperienced. So that's not great. But we also have to remember there are medications that guys take during the course of the season that help with aggravated backs that you may not take during training camp because you're not playing a game.
Yeah. Never underestimate a quarterback named Stetson.
What's that mean?
Really?
Stetson?
Yeah, it's a quarterback.
Buddy,
I'm underestimating.
He's a 5'10", 27-year-old.
His name's Stetson.
That's a quarterback name.
The moment I loved our Subaru Outback motor.